want to bring in Senator Mike Braun now. Senator, all right, so the Senate's voted 66-28. They're going to begin debating on this $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan. $550 billion of it would be new cash. You voted no. Why?
So I've been here 2.5 years, Charles, and what you just mentioned in terms of that $13.2 trillion, that's a debt and inflation bomb. I come from running a company as CEO and CFO most of that time. Never would work that way. And you cannot put so much fiscal stimulus into the economy along with the Fed accommodating it. And we're seeing it already with this 5 to 7% rate of inflation. The other thing is process doesn't count here anymore. We used to have dedicated funding for hard infrastructure through user fees. We haven't touched those since '93. When I was a legislator in Indiana, we made those decisions in 17. 70% of Hoosiers wanted better roads and bridges. 70% didn't want their taxes to go up, but we fought through that because you have political will at that level.
You know, and I don't want to digress from some of these other questions, but let me pick up on that. The lack of political will, the lack of political courage has really messed things up in Washington, D.C. It really has in my mind. We've seen folks abrogate their responsibility in jobs. We've seen certain branches take the lead when we were supposed to have equal government. This is another really slippery slope that we're heading down. And it's not just on spending, but on everything, Senator.
And I tell you, in my observation, here's how it works. It's kind of an unholy alliance from the folks that have been here for a long time. It's Republican and Democrats. We generally roll over to get everything we want on defense, give them everything they want on domestic, and we run these trillion-dollar structural deficits. Those are going to be up to about 1.5 going forward. Everyone shrugs their shoulders, Charles, and we kick it down the road, putting more debt on our kids and grandkids.
Senator, the eviction moratorium expires this weekend. The White House, they won't be able to muscle it through because of that recent Supreme Court decision, but there is pressure on Congress to do something. You've got millions of folks. I've heard the number from 3 million to 11 million. We know people are going to start to be kicked out of their homes perhaps as early as next week. Speaking of political will, who's going to take the blame for that, or will something come up?
Even though the Supreme Court ruled in that way, which maybe would say that landlords now have something to go back on, I think this needs to be where it's balanced. All along, when you had a moratorium on evictions, tenants were supposed to apply for that assistance. Many didn't. Landlords have debt underlying a lot of these properties. That should have been balanced and made certain from the beginning that tenants were helped along with landlords. If the landlords don't pay their principal and interest payment, there won't be buildings there to rent. So again, complicated. We got to look at both sides of the equation.
By the way, a lot of those governments, those state governments, are sitting on billions of dollars, and I think they want to use it for other things. In some states, even to help get reelected. Real quick, I've got less than a minute to go. Debt ceiling. All right, you want to talk about a problem that's been lingering? The debt ceiling was put in World War I so that we could help pay for the first war, 1917. It's been hiked over 100 times. So is this all kabuki theater? Will it eventually be hiked? And if so, why go through the motions of acting like it's not going to be?
That's probably a nice way to describe it. I debated Bernie Sanders on the floor about this modern monetary theory, which says debt, deficits, and that accumulation of debt where we have to raise the ceiling almost year after year doesn't make any difference. Economists, even like Robert Reich, when I asked him when Bernie had him in, he's the chair of our budget committee, does that make sense? And he didn't want to talk about it. Charles, we've become consumers and spenders. We're not investors and savers anymore. And that's on steroids at the government level.
Yeah, it certainly is. Senator, I appreciate you hanging around and helping us here. A lot on your plate, and we appreciate it. Senator Braun, we'll see you again soon.